we doing?
How you feeling? Looks like you're walking a lot better.
Walking a lot better than I was Monday night. Yeah.
Wow. That's Taylor.
Quick.
Baker, when you go back and just look at the game the other day, you guys got a little skewed throwing it 50 times, not what you want to do. Does there need to be just, when you're in the game, and you were until like the fourth quarter, more of a balance there? I'm sure you talked to Josh just about the run-pass differential.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those passes, it's a ton of them, obviously, in that 2-minute situation when we're in the 19-play drive. So I think the numbers are a little bit more skewed. But, yeah, we still want to be a little bit more balanced. And that's just receivers are going to be tired, O-line's going to be tired. And just with that defensive front, you never want to have to drop back 50 times. It's not really fair for anybody. But, yeah, it was just the nature of the game, the way it was flowing. But, yeah, if we can prevent getting into that situation, it'd be best.
Baker, you had some uncharacteristically thrown high passes in that game. Was that a function of the Lions batting a couple of those passes down early, or what do you think that was?
Just some misses. I think a couple of them maybe not being on time, trying to force it, and it ends up being higher than I wanted to. And just got to be accurate. And I think it was just one of those days. wasn't perfect. And in those games, you got to be closer to perfect than I was.
I talked to you about Mike after the game, but and football teaches you to move on to the next play. But you guys are also human beings too, and turning the page on an injury like that, a guy that I know means so much to you personally. He's a good friend of yours. How hard is that to do, even coming back into the building this week?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, from the business standpoint, you got to move forward. You can't focus on that. But from the personal side of it, it just sucks. And it's the nature of this game. Guys get hurt, and you don't like to see it. But just got to support him in any way we can. And I know he'll do the same, like I mentioned after the game. So it's, like I said, unfortunate, especially for Mike being the guy he is, the player he is, the leader for this organization. But, yeah, we just going to have to find ways to fill the shoes that, obviously he's not in there. So, and that's it takes everybody at that point, because it's Mike Evans.
The Lions played a lot of man coverage on Monday night. I think on passing snaps, they played more man than zone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you were kind of expecting going into that game with their defensive tendencies, and how did that look in game time as opposed to maybe other games this year?
I mean, if you look at statistically what they were doing prior, you can expect a lot of man, but where they were at personnel-wise, we weren't exactly expecting it. But got to be able to adjust and adapt and get back to getting some one-on-one routes and figuring out how to beat that man coverage. So they did a good job of obviously, scheming that up and playing aggressive and saying, this is who we are. We're still going to do it no matter who's in there. So hats off to them.
Baker, I'm sure this is a situation where physically you guys would love to have a little bit more time, like a regular week, to get ready to play on Sunday. But from a mental standpoint, after that loss, are you guys even more itching to get back out there and flesh that taste?
Yeah, I think, you look at that as similar. I mean, I know it's not a Thursday week, but similar on short weeks. If you lose, you want to get out there quicker rather than later to, get it out of your system. Understand, and especially when you have a group like we have. They understand what we have to do to get the job done, to find wins. And so our guys will handle it the right way, heal up as quick as we can, and go from there.
Does it help to have a more familiar opponent in the Saints to study for, like on a shorter week, some familiar personnel?
Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, yeah, being familiar with them, understanding that does give you a little bit of a head start on the preparation, and then just understanding the system that Brandon Staley calls, and knowing that it's similar to a Vic Fangio type system, top-down defense. They don't like to get shots over their head, and so looking at it like that, trying to relate it as much as you can, but then also looking at specifically what are they doing, and our guys will be able to handle that.
Baker, third down on Monday night, which time 4-16. I think 3 of the 4 got exactly the yards to change. Is there something that Detroit did on third down that made it especially tough?
They did a good job mixing up when they were showing man coverage and dropping out into some zone stuff. And then just on top of that, we just got to, as a skill group, got to execute better. And that falls on my shoulders. So a lot of that's on me, and just got to be able to execute in third.
There were a few snaps, Baker, where it seemed like a couple of your targets ended up kind of in the same general area. That's not the way it's drawn up, I'm sure. Is that something you've talked about with your guys? What happened on those plays?
A few of those, yeah. I mean, sometimes, especially the way they play, as collision as they are in the secondary, getting hands on people, you get bumped off your routes. So trying to speed up in your head the timing of the concept to get over to where you're supposed to be, and so it just gets the timing of it gets thrown off a little bit. So that's why you see it. But yeah, just got to have a little bit more dispersion on the route concepts.
Was it harder to hear at all? We saw you quite a few times. Was it harder to be able to listen?
I mean, yeah, it's just a loud environment. They do a good job of understanding when they're supposed to be loud. The hardest part is when you're trying to call a play, hear the play. After that, you have nonverbal communication with signals and whatnot. So they understand when they're supposed to be loud, and they do a good job of that.
It looked like the Lions did a great job keeping you from getting out and making plays with your legs. Did they do something specifically in spying? It looked like they were spying you and also just trying to make sure you can't step up in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, they were extremely fundamental in the rush integrity and the gaps. And then on top of that, when you have Derek Barnes as a spy, not exactly easy because he's lined up over no lineman, so you have to account for him in the pass rush, but then he's also really not doing any pressure. So he's just waiting for me to step up. And, yeah, only a few shots there where I was able to step up and have a free lane to get a throw off. But, yeah, they did a really good job.
How surprised were you to have Emeka out there? I mean, I know it's very rare for a guy to leave a game and miss a whole half with a hammy and then to come back and start practicing on Friday. I know Friday's a very light day, but for him to go out there and play as much as he did.
Yeah. I mean, not surprising for me, just after communicating with him. And just also the more important part of that is how professional he is, understanding what he has to do with his rehab to get right, to be able to play on Sundays, Monday night. Obviously, the extra day probably helped him too. So he's just an all-around professional.
He reminded me a lot of Mike, actually, in the way he, continued to play on through that game. And speaking of which, we haven't had a chance to see Mike, obviously, because concussion protocol and things like that. Have you had a chance to talk to him, and how's he doing?
Yeah, I mean, talked to him after the game. Haven't seen him today, but just, I mean, the combination of things between obviously the collarbone and the head. Just going through it a little bit right now, but he'll be all right. He's as tough as they come, especially mentally. So he's made for it, but we know it's a long season. He's going to heal up and hopefully be there for the end of the year and playoff push.
Looking forward to the Saints. Brandon Staley can do a lot of different things on defense. And when you've played him both in the past and now, what are some of the tendencies you see from his defense, and what do the Saints personnel kind of do to help him with that?
I mean, just like I mentioned earlier, the top-down secondary, not truly trying not to let you have shots downfield. And they're not as reroute as much as Fangio teaches it with Cooper DeJean, but Alontae Taylor's a physical nickel, and so he really makes things go in the secondary. But then when you have the linebacker duo of Pete and DeMario, that's really where it starts. So being able to communicate based on formations, motions, those guys get everybody going, and you definitely have to always know where 56 is.
As the injuries pile up, do you as a leader, do you have to say anything to the team just to make sure the guys, just their psyche isn't impacted by it? I mean, how do you make sure that doesn't happen?
I mean, until we just lost it, nobody was complaining, moaning about it. It's the nature of the game. You have a game every week until you're bye, and so you figure it out and move on. So you don't have to have an extra speech. Guys know that they have to get ready physically as well as you possibly can to play and go from there.
I know you're not going to root for Dave Canales Baker as much as you like him because it's a division rival, but are you kind of impressed with what he's doing in Charlotte right now?
Yeah, I mean, I said it to you guys right when Dave got hired there. I think Bryce, obviously needed the right people around him, and Dave is a guy that instills confidence in everybody. Just how positive he is, that's how he's always been. So I'm not shocked by it. It's just Dave's a great guy, great coach, and so he's going to get guys ready to go. And sometimes it takes time, but I think that's why you're seeing the true change in that organization now is everything that he's been doing.
Baker, for you this year is probably the one game you haven't been, as effective as you had in the past. How do you come back from, you guys were so hot as an offense, you particularly as a quarterback. What's your process to where you let this one go?
How quickly I get over it, or
just what do you learn from it? How do you get back to having the momentum you had before?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it. For me, I look at it schematically. What did they do to disrupt what we were trying to get done, and then where did we go wrong when we had things dialed up? And so for me, just execution, efficiency, finding more completions, trusting our guys, and so just need to get off to a hot start and get in the guys' hands, and obviously get the guys on the same page in the run game, whatever it may be, and go from there.
You said on a podcast over the summer that you hate the Saints. I'm just curious
Yep.
what makes this rivalry so intense.
It hasn't exactly been clean play from their part when we play them. It's a physical game. It is what it is. You expect it. Division rival. Yeah, not much else to say besides the fact that I don't like them.